All right, everybody. Good morning. All right. Welcome to a roundtable. Remember, money isn't the most important thing in life, but it is reasonably close to oxygen on the gotta have it scale. We've been stretched. We found ways to stretch dollars. And there's also been insanity as it relates to the last year. And our guests today have helped me in many ways maintain some semblance of sanity. I'll get to why in a little bit here. Remember, these roundtables are from your friends at Qnity. You are our friends, you are our community. And we realize that the world is full of confusion, complexity, and being overwhelmed. And what is the simplest path to create better money success for you? We lean very heavily on our brain trust of contributors, of which this wall of fame keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Jessica, I don't believe we had your headshot. We're going to need to add this to you. Luke's here as a repeat member of the brain trust. And so we've really had great contributions and several light bulb moments. I am warning you today, you might need to use your entire 9 grid because of the light bulb moments that are going to come from today. Last week, we had Stephanie Fox Jackson, and it was a great segment on recruiting, what the workforce is looking for today, how the marketplace is changing, and she had some zingers. There was some really great content. This week's guests are Jessica and Luke from Discover Strength, which is a boutique fitness studio. Multi-location right now in the Twin Cities, soon to be in other markets across the country, as they have entered the franchise business right around the time the pandemic started. They launched a franchise business, and it's turned out to be a pretty darn good thing for them. So use the 9 grid. 9 grid's a good place to keep your light bulb moments, past recordings. Were just posted in the Plan for Profits portal, but now they're on YouTube, so check them out. And we do have some sponsors, Aura and Vish. Thank you for being sponsors of the Roundtable. And without any further ado, let's bring on Luke and Jessica. Good morning. How are you guys?
Great. Thank you so much for having us, Tom.
Luke, some might remember you not only from last, whenever you were on, I think Jessica and Luke, you guys were on with us in July. But back at the last 2 to 10 conference, you were a special guest, and you killed it. There were so many ideas that people were coming up with that they said, this guy's got to come back. So we invited you back for 2 to 10 2020, which was canceled. But you have agreed to join us in October, which is very exciting news for all of us. So thank you for that.
I look forward to it.
I got to show this video. This video was April 30th of 2020. When all of us were just panicking like mad. And I get this video. All right, here we go. This is priceless.
Hey, Tom, Luke Carlson, Discover Strength. Say, Tom, I wanted to reach out and just say thank you for being our client, but not just for being our client. Thank you for being in the top 20% of our most consistent clients over the last 12 months. So we appreciate your consistency, which means we appreciate your business. You're one of our top 20% highest revenue producing clients. And I share that with you just because of who you are. And so I want to say thank you for your consistency. Thank you for your business. Thank you for your trust. I also want to just mention that the video content that you guys have done is just phenomenal. You're taking the
Okay. Luke, that was 57 seconds. How many of those videos did you send out?
I sent just shy of 1,000 of those.
Hold on here. You sent 1,000 of those videos to your client?
Yeah.
So everybody else, they were getting in line for PPP, they were taking care of their staff, and you sent this to 1,000 clients. How many clients do you have?
We have a lot of clients. We have a few thousand clients, or more than a few thousand clients, across all of our locations. And we ran a list of what's the top 20% of spenders. And we wanted to make sure that we were connecting with them in a variety of different ways. But I knew that at some point I needed to connect with them. And I thought rather than just a phone call and leave a voicemail, it'd be pretty easy. Frankly, it'd be pretty easy for me to batch those. I could lock myself in an office and do just, 80 of those at a time and send them off.
So perhaps, and good morning, thanks for being, hello, Jessica, how are you too? I'm so excited about today. My mind is just going 1,000 miles an hour. So Luke and Jessica, that leads me into you having your best quarter ever this year, all right? And I think what you said is that you keep setting new records, both in sales and EBITDA, is that correct?
Yeah, so quarter one of this year was our highest revenue quarter and our highest EBITDA quarter in company history. And then from a record standpoint, the KPI that we look at, really simple, is how many workouts did we do in a week? How many sessions did we do in a week? And our leadership team cares about that KPI, but of course our whole company does. Every personal trainer can understand how many sessions did we do. And I think we're now 3 weeks in a row of resetting a record. And in the first 17 weeks of the year, I think we probably reset a record 10 or 11 times, which normally when we set a record, it's a big deal. And then it's 2 more months before we set another record, and then maybe a month and we set a record. So for us to be on the cadence of kind of this record setting weeks that we're on right now is pretty unusual, and we're clearly excited about it.
Okay, several different comments. So Minneapolis is the home for several fitness giants, Lifetime Fitness, Snap Fitness, Anytime Fitness, and you're an entrepreneur. 6 locations right now? Okay.
7 locations.
And
7 locations.
how many?
7.
Okay. So a couple comments. So first of all, what I'm hearing from you is basically this is your version, your measurement of what we would call client count, transactions, visits, right? So that's your number 1 indicator. All right, point noted. Number 2 is how's the fitness industry going? I mean, is the fitness industry setting records, or are you clocking the competition?
You know, we almost have some survivor guilt that we're doing well because so many of our colleagues in the industry, and not just in Minnesota, but around the entire country and really around the world, are really, really struggling. I mean, they've just been devastated. Small boutique concepts, huge health club chains, and everything in between. Their revenues have been just decimated. And so I think every weekly leadership team meeting we have, which will take place in just an hour here, we will kind of start off saying, we have so much gratitude for how we are doing. Let's keep it going. But we really are in a place of gratitude because the rest of the industry has been just devastated.
Do you think those 1,000 videos and everything else you do is a big part of the X factor? I certainly have my own opinion on that one.
Yeah, so I would say yes. And if I had to summarize it, I think it's really 2 things. There's plenty of authors that write about you need to prepare a cash reserve and a war chest to be ready for a storm when that storm is coming. And Jim Collins writes about the companies that are able to weather these storms. They have so much money in reserve. Well, I don't think it's just money in reserve that matters. It's this customer relationship and this loyalty that you build for, we've been operating for 15 years. So we spent 15 years creating customer loyalty and customer centricity and this relationship. And we didn't know when we were going to need to cash in on it. Well, guess what? We needed to cash in on it in March of last year. So we had built this loyalty over time, and that allowed us to survive the last year. But then we didn't take our foot off the gas. We said, how do we honor and how do we appreciate our customers for being so loyal up to this point? And then the customers that stuck with us over the last year, we needed to make sure we reached out and thanked them in a unique way. I mean, Jess will tell you, we've spent, 60 hours together with our leadership team in a boardroom where we recorded videos thanking all of our customers that chose to stick with us when we closed, when we went to virtual, and now that our studios are back open. And we all had a script and we went around thanking them by name, every single one of them. So you had to have loyalty in the first place. And then during the year of the closure, instead of just focusing on what are we going to do in terms of PPP and how do we take care of our staff and what do we need to do, we tried to think as much as we could about what can we do to serve our customer right now. And I mean tactically making pivots where we can serve our customer in a way that we drive revenue, we can actually provide value, but also how do we provide the unique customer touch points that if the customer is not spending money with us right now, they're going to start spending money with us when we get through all of this. That was our conversation in March and April and May and June of last year, is the great brands, the great companies, the companies that prevail through all of this. It's not a matter of what do you do during this first 6 months of kind of being shut down and reopening. It's how you position yourself over that full year so that when you come out of all of it, what's the first quarter back look like? And we don't always get it right, but I think we got this right, because our first quarter was strong only because of what we did in the 4 previous quarters, the full year of the shutdown.
I'm going to get to Jessica on lagging indicators in a moment, but since you mentioned, and I don't want to go overboard in the videos, but this is another video I got from you.
Since getting shut down back in March, you guys have been able to stay as consistent as ever with your workouts and not miss a beat. Because of your consistency, we haven't had to make any referrals.
Okay, so this is a video I got, and this was 29 seconds, all right? And your whole leadership team got together and said, how much time did you guys spend? Because all 4 of you are sitting around here sending videos to you. How many of these videos did you do?
Jess, I think that list was 700. I think
Jeez.
eventually, what do we stop at, 400 or something like that? Yeah.
All right, well, I'm smitten with that approach to customer service because I ain't seen it before. I haven't seen it anywhere else, all right? And Jessica, talk about these lagging indicators, because Luke talked about client count, number of workouts being your indicators, and trend is going. But what are the lagging indicators for you, the industry, and why are they important?
I mean, obviously we're always looking at EBITDA. I think that's our big one, but I think this year we have been a higher focus on our balance sheet and our, I think going through COVID and being shut down, we realized the importance of cash and maintaining that cash. You know, I think it's always been important, but I think, you know, having to deal with the shutdown, we always say growth sucks cash and we want to continue to grow, but we also need to have that war chest because there's always going to be ups and downs in business, and we will probably never receive any government assistance again. So I think that has been incredibly important for what our priorities are going forward.
And Luke, I think with lagging indicators, you had some comments about that too, in terms of some more client-related lagging indicators. So what are those?
Well, I mean, so we think you always have to have a scorecard of both leading and lagging. So one of the lagging would be what's our revenue like, right? But revenue, I mean, a lagging indicator is like an autopsy. It's in the past. One of the leading that we look at is NPS. I mean, we are obsessed with NPS. NPS is lagging in a sense that it's already—
Better give a definition here. Net promoter score? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, yep.
Net promoter score. Net promoter score is lagging in that someone is telling you after the fact, I'm going to give you a 9 or a 10 or a 7, but it's actually the best leading indicator, right? Net promoter score was developed by huge brands, went to, it was Bain, and said, hey, we need you to come up with some type of metric that's going to predict long-term profitability for a huge firm. So Bain came up with the net promoter score. And so if your net promoter score is high, that's a great sign that you will be profitable over the long haul. So as much as we're focused on 90 days at a time, we're in this quarter, and that's our mindset, is we're in this quarter, we have to think about, hey, as long as the NPS is strong, we have a really bright future. And when that NPS starts to dip, we are really in trouble a year from now, 2 years out. So the NPS could be looked at as lagging or leading, but it is a key number that I think we need to obsess around.
You also mentioned a very important leading indicator. Leading indicators, the free introductory workouts, and that number has spiked up too. That's got to be a huge predictor of revenue, right? And so your trends are okay.
Yeah. So if you want to know what the beginning of our meetings look like when we go through our scorecard, right now we're saying, wow, our KPI of how many sessions we did this week is awesome. Okay, that's great. That's a lagging indicator. We're thrilled about it. How many introductory workouts did we do this past week? Wow, that's more than we've ever done. And for the quarter, we're averaging higher than we've ever done. Our key leading indicator, our key lagging indicator are strong. Life is pretty good. And when those things are good, then you can deal with all the other issues and problems in the business because like you're in a good place, right?
You know, I sometimes stumble with words and the sense of the way you put together words sometimes just blow me away. You used the word that you said you could die of indigestion. There's so many opportunities right now.
Yeah. And
That's a
I
good
always
line.
believe that, I always
Speaking of
believe that,
indigestion, by the way, I mean, I am a loyal client. And is this protein okay, by the way?
fantastic.
Okay, great.
Fantastic.
All right.
So
So
I think as a whole, that a firm is more likely to die of indigestion than to starvation. So I think we try to take on too much, and that's what really hurts us. We get distracted by shiny things, we get outside of our focus, et cetera. But and the reason this actually becomes more complicated or it amplifies is the more success you have, the more opportunities that you have, and that increases the likelihood that you'll die from indigestion. So the sign of a really smart firm, a firm with strategy, as it grows, is it will say no 10 times more than it will say yes to the opportunities coming at it. If you're not saying no all the time, then you don't have a strategy and you don't know who you are. You don't know what you want to be known for in the minds of the consumer. You don't know where to focus. And the bigger that you become, the more important it is to say no in a more disciplined way.
starting a franchise company is a big yes. And that is one that has multiple domino effects. And I mean, so most of the people on this call are going to have single location, maybe up to 10 locations. And I think I'm aware of one person who just had a comment, good morning, Rebecca, that has delved into the franchise space. So here you are going with the Goliaths here by going into the franchise space. Give us an update, because we talked about that a little bit in the past. And I think you got your franchise disclosure document done right when the pandemic hit, right?
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
timing.
Yeah.
And, you know, that sounds like I'm being facetious, but I talked to a franchise lawyer and he said franchise businesses do very well towards the tail end of a recession. So good timing.
Yeah.
How's it going? And, you know, some of this you may be able to reveal, some you got to set your boundaries of confidentiality, but what does that look like for a 5, now 7 location fitness studio to take on something of that magnitude?
So I think for us, it has to go back to the why are you doing it? I mean, you said something early on when you started off. You talked about that cash or revenue. I think you said cash. The money is really the oxygen of the business, and that's a perfect analogy because, like oxygen or blood or water, cash or revenue or profit, it's not the purpose of the business. It's not the reason. But it's not the reason for living, right? Oxygen and water and blood are not the reason that we live, but they're vital to living. And the same is true of our organizations around cash. But you have to understand, what is your purpose? What's your why? Well, we know what our purpose is. And in all of our discussions about 2.5 years ago, we talked about franchising. We said, well, franchising is just tangible proof of what our core purpose already is. It allows us to live out that core purpose. And that's frankly what our entire team wants to sign up for. We want to be involved in things that allow us to live out the organization's purpose. Now, the second component is it has to align with what we are genetically encoded to do. What is our strategic niche? Our strategic niche is pretty simple. It's personalized strength training. So could we franchise and stick with that strategic niche? And of course, the answer was yes. Well, it aligns with our purpose and it aligns with our strategic niche, which is this: what do we want to be known for? What's the one mental space we want to own in the minds of the consumer? Then the answer is, for us, was yes, we should do this. And then Jess and I went deep in it over the last 2 years and have built, I mean, Jess deserves most of the credit building this out over the last 2 years. And now we're at the point where we're starting to award franchises in the Twin Cities and around the country.
You don't want to tell us where you're going next? We'll save that for later.
Yeah, I mean, we think it's going to be Chicago, but there's not a guarantee there.
All right. All right. Jessica, Luke said it's sexy to build a war chest. Another Luke line. Okay. It certainly makes your job as a CFO a hell of a lot easier with a war chest. Having been a CFO myself, I know what it's like when you don't have a war chest. So that oxygen. So you've been with Discover, is it a couple years now or a little more than that?
Full-time internally 3 years, and then probably another 4 when I was a consultant, 3-4 years.
Yeah, so we work with Jess as a consultant for a number of years, and then we hired her, and she's been with us for about 3 years.
Wise move. She also works out with sometimes the same trainer as myself, who for the record is Relentless Ryan, who is my son, who in the interest of full disclosure, although there is some nepotism here, it's not much. And apparently all of you guys work out very hard. And Jessica, apparently have a very high bar to cross to even get close to you. I'm going to say that, by the way. So Jessica, from your perspective, you get to speak with a bunch of other owners and managers in the finance part of the business. What, you know, this is all unrehearsed, unplugged. Any insights for the group?
You know, I think that this year it was actually, I'm grateful that we actually had to go through this, because I don't think we would have felt this way as a priority if we hadn't gone through this. I think we learned a lot going through COVID, and the importance of cash, honestly, the importance of our balance sheet, and what does it look like to have a healthy balance sheet, and where do we need to go, you know, in the next few years to achieve that. Because before, you know, we've been opening up locations and really spending a lot of money. And so stepping back and really understanding where's that balance on how much we want to spend and how much we want to invest versus, you know, really having that war chest in case something does happen.
And I would say shame on us if we went through this and this idea of that we have to have a war chest isn't imprinted on who we are as leaders, right? And we talked about what do you want to take with us on the other side of this entire pandemic. And one of the things that's imprinted on all of us is the importance of having the war chest. And without the significant event that we went through, you're right. We never would have adopted this mentality. Intellectually, we would understand it. One of the quotes that we use all the time is revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity, but cash
is king.
Yeah, and you can hear things like that all the time, but until you live through what we've all lived through in this past year, I mean, that lesson, it has imprinted on us that the war chest is a top priority. It is now something we look at a regular basis. Our whole leadership team thinks it's sexy. It's something that we're going to celebrate. And you just would have never convinced us of this 8 years ago. And frankly, I don't think enough people are talking about it in business. Of all the podcasts I listen to and the books I listen to and the speakers that you hear speak at different industry events, no one talks about what's your war chest like. I mean, it's just not sexy, and you need to make it sexy culturally.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about it. I'm glad. Luke, when we were together at 2 to 10, and one of the things that I was very pleased to discuss with you, one of the themes of that conference is we always pick some metrics and go deeper into it. And we had this metric of revenue per square foot, which the research that we've seen from the 2 to 10 project is that most salons in that category have approximately $475 of revenue per foot. When I went through it with you, you were sharing some shocking numbers as it related to your industry. And you were on the like top, quartile, whatever. Talk about a little bit of revenue per square foot, what some of those numbers, and you may not have that data off the top of your head, but let's go there for a minute.
So it's a key metric, right? Revenue per square foot matters. And in our business, we don't want locations that are too large. And if we're looking at a location that's too large, or a franchisee is looking at a location that's too large, we say all that's going to do is decrease your revenue per square foot. You're going to have more overhead, you have more cost, and you're not going to be able to necessarily generate more revenue. And so we want the location to be of a certain size and frankly pretty small. We want that revenue per square foot to be high. I'm enamored by like a Tiffany's model, and I'm enamored by an Apple store. Apple is the highest revenue per square foot of any retail concept in the world. And then I think number 2 is Tiffany. We're the highest in our industry. We've never heard of a boutique, health club, any concept that's where we are. We are behind Tiffany, but we're not much behind Tiffany. And this is really, really our obsession. And when we look at each one of our locations, we know where that benchmark is, where it needs to be in terms of revenue per square foot. And I'll throw out the number because we can disclose it. Is we're at $1,000 of revenue per square foot for our mature locations, and we think we can exceed that, but that's where we need to be. That's the benchmark.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what your model, what's the approximate square footage?
A small studio is 1,500 square feet, and a larger studio is 2,200 square feet. The sweet spot for us is 1,800 to 2,000 square feet.
There are so many similarities between your type of model and the fitness boutique. Fitness boutiques can be all over the place, but it's a very, very similar model to participants in this call. The other part that's very similar relates with the workforce. All right, and you're really pulling from the same essential demographic. Obviously, it's a different skill set, it's a different type of entrepreneur, but you have entrepreneurs in the form of personal trainers. So talk about the workforce and recruiting and retaining. And I don't know if you want to take that one, Jessica.
So take that, Jess. But I think the biggest similarity, Tom, if it's okay if I interject and say this, I think the biggest similarity is that we have repeat visitors on a regular basis, and our challenge eternally will be that can we provide the same level of consistent experience? I'm not going to say exceptional customer experience because every brand can decide what that experience should be like. You should be intentional about it, but can you consistently deliver it? Because the customer notices when a step is missed, when a process isn't followed, when you haven't elicited the same emotional response from that customer. And we see a client 1 to 2 times per week. I know the salon that I go there every 7 days to get a haircut. Every 14 days, I get an eyebrow wax. I mean, I am there all the time. And when they're not on top of their game and when they've skipped a step and that person that's cutting my hair decided not to bring their best because it's the end of their long day, I notice it. And all I can think about is, oh my gosh, do I have a trainer right now doing that at one of our locations? It's 7:30 at night. They've seen 14 other people all day long. It's a long day. And is the customer actually experiencing that they're a little bit exhausted, right? That is the business. And so that's the major similarity I see is, can you have that consistent delivery all day long? Did I come in at 7 a.m. or at 7 p.m.? Was it a Friday? What is going on in the stylist that I'm seeing or the personal trainer that I'm seeing's personal life? And did I feel it in my experience? Is what we're saying that the brand is supposed to deliver? Did I experience it in the actual physical plant? That's where I see the similarity being so incredibly strong, and having the systems and processes to enforce all of those things. And enforce is the wrong word, but to inspire those things and to make sure we have just consistency throughout the whole brand. So that wasn't maybe too long of an interjection, but that's the similarity that I see. And Jess, you can talk about.
No, it was a great call out. And I think many people would want you as a client every 7 days and every 14 days. I mean, that makes you, 52 visits a year. I don't think there's one person on this call that wouldn't take you as a client. So
and Tom, I've told this story at no less than 10 different presentations that I've given in the last year. The salon I go to, they told me I was the highest revenue customer they had. They told me that 2 years ago. And I thought, wow, that's maybe embarrassing, right? I wasn't sure. But
did they send you a video?
Well, that's my point, Tom. When they got closed down, I didn't hear a word from them. I mean, not a text message, not a phone call, not a letter, not an email. They ignored me. And my mindset was not that I'm high maintenance and you better reach out to me. My mindset was, I know for you to survive, you need your high revenue customers back as soon as you're allowed to be open. I know I'm your highest revenue customer. How are you engaging me now? You know, it could be something clever like, hey, Luke, we can only, you know, we can't even imagine how bad your eyebrows look right now. When we're through all of this, we can't wait to see you again and get you looking right. You know, anything like that. But it was radio silence. And they just forgot about the customer completely. So I mean, Jess is sick of me saying that story because as a leadership team, we talk about it all the time. How do we show up differently? Because so many brands are not showing up proactively, trying to foster the customer relationship and loyalty. How can we really differentiate ourselves by doing that?
Yeah, I think it's a really great story. Jess, what's the head count? 7 locations, how many people altogether?
We're about 45 employees right now.
Yep.
really almost 40 trainers, including general managers.
Leadership team consists of you, Luke,
David,
Heather.
VP of Ops, and then Hannah, VP of Sales and Marketing.
You basically got each function covered, and so it's a lean and mean leadership team. All right, so tell me about the demographics of the workforce, Jessica. Approximate age that you're pulling from.
I would say our recruiting is always focused on, right out of a college. So we have a summer and winter internship program. So that is really where our focus is. They're younger, 22, 25 years old, I would say.
We want them right out of college because they don't have bad habits. They don't have ego. And I say bad habits, I mean around exercise, but also customer service and customer experience. They are really bright, but they're a blank slate in that they are really teachable and moldable culturally, customer service wise, exercise wise. So we want great intelligence and aptitude, as well as what we would call a servant heart. We want you to be 51% servant hearted. And what we found is our model is to go after them when they're 22, 23 years old. I mean, we have a trainer that's 57. We're not ageists, but that's our model for recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say? 51%? You got to unpack that one for me. 51% servant leader. Tell me about that one.
So the last question that our hiring team goes through when we're debriefing after an interview is we say, is this person a 51%er? And the 51%er means 51% of who they are is that they are servant hearted, and 49% is all about the technical skills. We want to hire you. We want you to be more a servant hearted person than you are leading with the fact that you are technically sound, because we can teach you the technical skills, but if you're not servant hearted, if it's not in your DNA, we can inspire a little bit around that, and we can teach you how we're actually going to show up and what we're going to do tactically, how we're actually going to execute, but we can't change your heart if you're not servant hearted. So that is the last question that our hiring team goes through is this a 51%er?
All right, tell me about your hiring team, Jessica. I'm sorry, are we okay with time, you guys? I think I promised you a 30-minute. Do we have another 5
We're great
minutes?
on time. We're great on time. Your audience may be sick of listening to us, but we're great on time.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think the audience is sick of listening to you at all. I think they're eating this stuff up. I haven't even had a second, because I'm so into this conversation, even check the chat. So, Jessica?
So our hiring team consists of Luke, David, the VP of Ops, Heather, she's Luke's executive assistant, but she also does our HR. I think we have 2 trainers on the hiring team, and then our franchise field consultant / concierge. So the hiring process consists of it's an interview with Luke, basically giving an overview of the company and whether really their core value fit. And then the second interview is a video that they submit a video to the hiring team based on like a number of questions, and then they review that and determine if they're going to go to the next step. The third one is a group interview with all of the hiring team, and then the fourth one is a workout interview. So we have a pretty extensive interview process.
And we tell everybody on their first interview, I said, if the interview process isn't extensive, you don't want to work there, because that's a sign that they don't really care about getting the right person. We tell them this is going to be arduous and it's going to be long, but that's because we care about getting the right people. And as soon as you communicate that up front, I think people say, okay, I'm ready to go through this pretty arduous process.
I think a lot of people are going to be curious about this video that they have to do and submit.
We wanted to create a homework assignment. And we also wanted a way to screen out candidates, because that first interview that I do is a group interview. It's me, and it used to be in a boardroom, and now it's on a Zoom call with 15 people. And all I talk about is our core purpose and our core values. And I try to scare them away or attract them, right? If you do it right, 50% of them get off that Zoom call and say, my goodness, I want nothing to do with this company. And 50% say, I can't wait to take the next step. And I think the mistake that a lot of brands make is in an initial interview like that, it's just cliche after cliche after cliche. And it's like, as a candidate, you're like, I don't know if I'm drawn to this company, or I feel the same. I feel indifferent. I feel the same way I did before the interview. So that's step one. And then the step two, that video is we want them to do a homework assignment so we can see them deliver. And number two is we needed a way to process a lot of candidates. So we get 10 videos in. The video, there's a time limit. It's got to be 5 minutes. You cannot go longer than 5 minutes. If it's over 5 minutes, we're not going to pass you on to the next step, right? So we're going to ask a couple questions. One, you have to go through each one of our core values and tell us how you've lived that core value in your life. Number two, how are you going to help us become the best customer service company in the world? And number three, tell us about your passion for strength training. That's it. Those 3 questions.
Wow. I remember when Ryan was getting ready, I said, just show him the workout you did for me when you were 18 years old. I still have a copy of it. I don't know if you ever used it, but that's an intimidating process, isn't it? Be intimidating for me. I hate doing videos. I'd much rather be in a live call than a video.
Yep.
So it really does have to create a barrier of entry and I think that's one of the reasons why you got such a great team. Jessica, tell me about turnover, okay? Turnover of trainers.
I would say our turnover is typically going to be like in the first 1 to 2 years. I think usually past the 2-year mark, they stay pretty long. I think that they feel it out. Like, is it for them? I think some might realize that they don't want to be a personal trainer. It's a lot of FaceTime with clients. And then we also get to see, really where their performance is. So I would say after 2-year mark, we don't have a lot of turnover. Even the first 1 to 2 years, based on our hiring process, I think that our turnover is probably relatively low in the industry.
Yeah, I agree. It's very low in the industry, but if we turn someone over, it's early on, and we think that's okay. They decide this is not for me, or we decide we made a mistake and this is not a good fit. But after you get, to that 2-year mark, you're going to probably be in it for the long haul. And some turnover is okay. Relative to the rest of our industry deals with so much turnover, and we've been pretty fortunate.
Tell me about compensation a little bit here, and with all my guests, I say share within your comfort level. Don't violate any confidentiality, but share how do you compensate your trainers?
So they are all on a percentage compensation structure. So they'll have a percentage, say 35 to 40%. Based on each session that they do. And we have it based on different tiers. So how long they have been with the company. So we have like tier 1 through partner, and their percentage will increase as they move up those tiers. And then there's also a grading system on performance. Are you an A trainer? Are you a C trainer? And that will impact their compensation as well. So obviously the more they train, the more money that they're making.
Very similar to many commission-based salons.
We made a horrible mistake in our early years where we paid people a salary. And we thought, well, our trainers would want a salary. They feel like they have a real job. Their friends are coming out of college with salaries. And what would happen is the salary didn't align what the customer wanted, what the trainer wanted, and what the business wanted. So we closed at 8 p.m. If it was 7:15, our workouts are 30 minutes long. And if someone called at 7:15 and said, hey, I'd love to get in for a 7:30 workout tonight on Friday night, the trainer would say, oh no, I don't want to work with another person. I was going to be able to leave early, and I'm on a salary, so I make the same amount regardless. So what the trainer wanted was for you not to come in. What the customer wanted was to come in and get a workout. What the company wanted was for you to come in and get a workout. So they weren't aligned. Now, if someone calls at 7:15 to get in for a 7:30 workout, the trainer says, heck yeah, get them on my schedule, right? If you come in for your Monday shift, our shifts are all 8 hours long. You work from 5:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. or noon to 8. You get in for your shift and you see that you have just a packed shift. You have 14 clients you're going to train that day. You say to yourself, heck yes, this is a great day. I'm going to make a lot of money. When we used to have salaries, they looked at a busy shift and they'd say, what the heck? I'm getting overworked. This isn't fair. The company's taking advantage of me, right? And so when you get paid a percentage of the revenue that you're creating, you are constantly thinking about how can I optimize my schedule. Now, we've learned with our staff that they want to do that within a 40-hour work week. Our staff do not want to work more than 40 hours. Work-life balance is really important to them. And so we try to really, really stick to that.
Jessica, all right, we're going to have to, you have a leadership meeting. Be sure to say hi to the leadership team for me personally, will you? And thank you for sharing. But I got a couple other things here for you. So Jessica, back when the pandemic hit, you moved into the virtual space, right? And like everybody did. And so I immediately signed up. I said, this is a small business I'm going to support and I got to work out anyway. So I was in. All right. And I struggled with it at first. Part of it was I didn't have great equipment. By the way, Ryan, our entire Christmas gifting were all fitness equipment to put in our basement. So we're now at another level. Anyway, so you moved into the virtual space. And I have to be honest, right now, I mean, I'm booked out through the end of May. I'm a great client, you know, not just revenue, but actually pre-book. And what I do is I found I love the virtual piece now. So Monday nights, I do virtual with Ryan, and I do Friday nights, it's afternoons in the summer, I go on site. I love the virtual workout. So I'm going to give you an unapologetic plug. Guys, you can work with Discover Strength virtually, nationally, and it's an awesome workout. It's 30 minutes a week. It's high intensity training. I mean, you suffer. You always know when a Kuhn member is going through a Discover workout because you can hear it 2 floors up through some type of grunting, screaming. We all have our own style of, maybe this is oversharing here. We all have our own style of letting out the tension. But I tell you, your virtual piece has worked out really well. Now you go online, you could book between virtual and on-site. So I am going, Louisa, you need to sign up for these guys. I already talked to you about that, okay? I know you're a workout queen. Sign up with Ryan. So the virtual space, how has that changed your model? What percentage of your revenue is coming from the virtual space?
Right now, I think we're still hovering around 30%, 25, 30% of virtual training right now. We did get a lot from United States and other countries, which is awesome. And like my sister, you know, she's in New York and finally got her signed up. And I think that's been a real benefit because being virtual, you can, you know, get clients anywhere. So in terms of compensation, it's really the same structure. We had actually priced it a little bit low at the pandemic. We're just trying to get clients to come in. So we did have to increase our pricing just to make it work for our trainers because they're obviously, you know, since they're paid on a percentage base, we wanted to make sure that they were compensated well. So I think it's definitely, you know, continued to be a part of our business model and will going forward.
Yeah, awesome. I think that you guys have really evolved in the last year. You know, I mean, the whole launching the franchise piece, virtual training, and you haven't looked back. It's amazing. So what else include, Luke, I know that you're a voracious reader and a huge study of leader. You're a national educator. You're a thought leader in the industry. I can brag about you, you know. What are you reading these days?
Yes, I'm always reading. This is either good or bad. I'm always reading 4 or 5 books, which is probably too many at one time. But I just read 2 of the best books that I have ever read. One of them is Jim Collins rewrote the first book he ever wrote, and it's called Beyond Entrepreneurship. But when you buy it, because I asked for it for Christmas and I got the wrong one, it's Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0. So he writes it wonderfully. He wrote it a long time ago when he was at Stanford. And the question was, how do you take an entrepreneurial company and not make it successful, but how do you build it into an enduringly great organization? It is a wonderful book, but the way he rewrote it, he kept all the original writing intact, and then any new content, he just made the page color different. So you're seeing his views from 2020 versus his views in the late 80s. And it's just a wonderful, comprehensive read. I mean, I couldn't put it down. That's one. The other book that I just loved reading, and I did it on audio, it's the perfect book to do on audio, was a book called about Steve Jobs. And the book, I'm not going to think of the title. The book is about, it came out in 2015 or 16. The subtitle is, it's the story of a reckless upstart on this journey to a visionary leader. It's Jobs starting off at Apple, and Jobs frankly should have been fired from Apple early on. And then he goes to Pixar, and then he comes back to Apple and how he evolves as a leader. It is like 500 pages long, but I did it on audio. It was an unbelievable book. If you want to feel like you're inside the boardroom with Steve Jobs and watching him evolve as a leader, it is so incredibly good. I think it's called Becoming Steve Jobs. Becoming Steve Jobs.
Okay, I got to sneak one more thing and then I'm going to let you go here. So obviously you are both experts in the fitness industry, and here we have participants today that healthy body and mind is vital to entrepreneurial success. So I'm going to give you just a moment here. Any just tips and point of view. We have a very buttoned down model, but just, you know, we absolutely have to endorse and celebrate mindset physically. So you're the expert. Who wants to take this one? Jessica, Luke, couple tips.
I'm going to use Jessica as an example when I give this advice. I just think the first mantra has to be exercise is not a selfish indulgence. It in fact is selfless. The idea that you would sharpen the saw, that you would take care of yourself first. Our bodies are our only vehicle to create change in our organizations, in our families, in our communities. We have to protect that instrument. You know, we are the instrument of all of the value that we can produce. And I think we have to be we are selfless by making this selfish act of taking the time to exercise. And the reason I use Jess as an example is Jess never misses her workouts, and Jess has a lot going on. I mean, she has young kids and she has demanding work and she has a life and she's building a cabin and there's always something going on. She flew to Arizona this weekend to buy a home with her. She always has a lot going on, but she'll carve out that workout so that she can continue to wear all the hats that she wears. And I didn't mean to put words in your mouth, but that's what I see you do. And I think every entrepreneur needs to know that. Like I go back to John D. Rockefeller in the late 1800s, running the largest organization the world's ever seen. And Rockefeller said, hey, it's noon and I'm going to go work out. And all the pressing commitments and the priorities and the meetings that are involved in running the largest organization the world has ever seen, they can wait until my workout is done, right? And that was the late 1800s. He intuitively understood that. And all of the research would say, if we can prioritize our workout, we show up better leading our small and mid-sized firms.
A lot of light bulb moments today. Here's your light bulb moment. I'm going to re-award you your second $1 million light bulb for each of you. It's awesome. Great nuggets today, guys. Let's give you a virtual applause.
Thank you.
Let's see if there's any questions here. You got just a lot of validation here. There was a question about hiring a franchise. We'll let you get a little bit further down the franchise road, but Luke, we're going to be seeing you in October. Jessica, there is an invite for you to come to 2 to 10, so maybe you'll be joining us, hopefully. You can see how we roll with what we do. And Luke, you also, we have something in common. We both started this big conference at the same time, like back in 2010.
Same trajectory. Yep. We're in our 11th year of our conference as well. And I mean, we don't know if it's the 10th or 11th year because the 10th year never really happened, but yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I hope we didn't pull you too far away into getting into your leadership team. Great job. Thanks so much.
It's our pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, guys. All right, everybody else, I am going to, let's see here, see what else I share today. We have that, look at Luke's beard there. Oh my God. All right. Yes, all progress starts when you tell the truth. I love that. Saving the date. We are in pre-registration point for 2 to 10. Invites are going to people that have already been to 2 to 10 in the past or signed up. And then we'll open it up, looks like next week, just heads up on that. Remember Qnity in action. We've got great coaches that are there to help you. Carrie, Heath, Jody, also Candace Gliata. Feel free to get a complimentary gap analysis. Grow and go. A lot of stuff going in the world of transactions and transitions and expansion. Also wanted to mention that we are starting on May 12th, a weekly roundtable for schools. And that's going to kick off with 3 dynamos, Nicole Cumberlander, Susan Heisey, and Linnell Lynch. Can't wait. And that'll be at noon Central Time. And this roundtable will continue to be at 10 a.m. Closing thoughts are really about who the heck's on the call today. I haven't even had a chance to see or acknowledge who's with us, but we've got a great group as usual here. Good morning, Amanda, Anna, Ashley, Ashley again. Hello, Austin Randolph. Good to see you on here too. Hi, Catherine. Good morning. Christine, Colleen, Donna, Ginger, James, Jan. Good morning, Jana. Jennifer, Justin, Karen, Kelly, Kip, Louisa. Good morning, Linnell and Melanie and Melissa. Melody, glad you joined us. Michelle, Nina, Rebecca, I saw your question about franchise. Great question. Good morning, Robert Cromings. How are you? Hello, Roberto, Salvador. Hello, Sam Bricata, Sandra Scott, Shannon from our team, Shara, Stephanie, Sue, Terry, Tracy. Good morning, Tracy. Hi, Trent, and Wendy. All right, guys, I think we have a wrap here. I love this session with Luke and Jessica. They're very generous to spend time with us, as you are. We will see you next week. Not quite sure who the guest is next week, but I guarantee you it'll be a great guest as every other week. One of the things that I wanted to give you a heads up on is we want to start the process of gathering some information and data. So as we look at future weeks with the roundtable, we're going to do some bite-sized chunk surveys so that we can use this time together to start to gather information about the marketplace. So data is something that I think can be a byproduct of this conference. So we would love to have you participate in some future surveys. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. Let's call it a wrap, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week. Bye.